When we think of B-1 battle droids, the image that comes to mind is often one of clumsy, mass-produced foot soldiers in the Star Wars universe. These droids are typically portrayed as comedic, expendable, and mindlessly loyal to their programming. However, there is a deeper layer to these mechanical beings that deserves exploration. What if we looked beyond their programming and considered their experiences, struggles, and even their potential for individuality? In this video, we'll take a closer look at the B-1 battle droids, aiming to humanize them in ways that will change how you see these iconic characters. Despite their quirky nature and endless supply of humorous one-liners, B-1 droids have an undeniable charm that captivates fans. But what if that charm goes beyond their comedic value and taps into something more profound? These droids are not merely tools of war. They are sentient to a degree, often expressing fear, confusion, and even camaraderie with each other. By analyzing their behavior and interactions, we can uncover a surprisingly relatable side to these robotic soldiers. This exploration invites us to question the boundaries between artificial intelligence and humanity itself. The Clone Wars series gives us valuable insight into the lives of these droids. Through various episodes, we see moments of vulnerability, creativity, and even loyalty among the B-1 South. These glimpses hint at the idea that they are more than just programming. They are evolving in their own way. Understanding their perspectives might even lead us to empathize with their plight as pawns in a galactic war. Could it be that the B-1 battle droids are, in some sense, victims of circumstance, just like the clones they face? By rethinking how we view B-1 droids, we open the door to a larger conversation about the ethics of artificial intelligence and war. What responsibilities do creators have toward their creations, even if those creations are mechanical? Should sentient or semi-sentient beings have rights, regardless of whether they are organic or not? These questions challenge us to look beyond the surface and engage with deeper moral and philosophical issues. Perhaps the B-1 battle droids are a perfect case study for exploring these concepts. In this video, we'll dive into specific examples, moments, and themes that highlight the humanity, or at least the potential humanity, of the B-1 battle droids. From their unintended humor to their occasional acts of bravery, we'll examine how these droids are more than the sum of their parts. Let's get started on this journey to humanize the galaxy's most underestimated soldiers. For all their flaws and hardships, there are moments where B-1 battle droids seem almost human. They joke around, sometimes even in the middle of battle. It's like they're trying to make the best of a bad situation, even if they don't fully understand what's happening. Those little quips and quirks make them feel alive in a way that's hard to ignore. You see it when they show fear or hesitation. They don't just march blindly into danger. They react, they question, they try to adapt. It's not much, but it's enough to make you wonder if there's more going on under the surface. Maybe they're not just following programming. Maybe they're learning, even if no one notices. And then there are the rare moments of bravery. A B-1 droid holding its ground against impossible odds, or trying to protect its fellow droids. It's clumsy and awkward, but it's also kind of heroic in its own way. They don't succeed often, but when they do, it feels like a small victory for something bigger. These glimpses of humanity are what make them so fascinating. They weren't designed to feel or think or care, but somehow, they do. It's a reminder that even in the most unlikely places, you can find something worth rooting for. At the end of the day, B-1 battle droids are nothing more than a footnote in the grand story of the galaxy. They're remembered as jokes, cannon fodder, and expendable minions. But when you really think about it, they deserve so much more. They were soldiers in a war they didn't choose, fighting for a cause they didn't understand. And they did it all without any hope of recognition or reward. What's heartbreaking is how quickly they were forgotten once the war was over. No one mourned them, no one honored their sacrifices. They were just left behind, like broken toys no one wanted to play with anymore. It's a fate that feels all too familiar for anyone who's ever felt overlooked or discarded, and yet, their story lingers. In their clumsiness, their humor, and their quiet acts of bravery, they remind us of something deeply human. They remind us that even the smallest, most overlooked beings can have worth, even if no one else sees it. So, the next time you see a B-1 battle droid on screen, take a moment to think about what they went through. Behind the humor and the chaos, there's a story of struggle, resilience, and quiet tragedy. They may be fictional, but their story feels all too real. Let's face it, B-1 battle droids were never designed to be heroes. They were created to march, shoot, and fall, over and over again. But if you really look at them, there's something tragically human about the way they stumble through their existence. They crack jokes, panic under pressure, and even try to reason with the people who destroy them. It's hard not to see them as more than just mindless machines. What's heartbreaking is how aware they are of their own fragility. They know they're outmatched, whether it's against Jedi or even clone troopers. You can hear it in their voices when they scream, "Uh-oh," right before they're obliterated. It's like they know they're disposable, but they still can't help fighting because that's all they've ever been told to do. Imagine knowing you're just another cog in a machine and still trying your best anyway. Their sense of camaraderie adds to the sadness. They call each other sir or buddy, trying to form connections in an existence that's otherwise cold and mechanical. Even in their awkward way, they try to look out for one another. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many friends they have, because none of them were meant to last. That's the thing about B1 droids. They're not just tools of war. They're tragic little figures caught in something so much bigger than themselves. And the worst part is, they don't even get the chance to understand why they're there in the first place. The Clone Wars were a nightmare for everyone involved, but for B1 battle droids, it was a never-ending cycle of destruction. They weren't given breaks or time to process what was happening. They were sent into battle again and again, with no real chance to survive. They didn't even have the luxury of hope. They knew how every fight would end. Imagine being thrown into a war you didn't start, with no way to escape it. That's the life of a B1 droid. They didn't ask to be soldiers. They didn't ask for anything. Yet they were forced to fight and die for a cause that didn't care about them. It's a level of futility that's hard to wrap your head around. What makes it even sadder is how replaceable they were. One B1 goes down, and another takes its place, as if the first one never mattered. There's no legacy, no memory of their efforts or struggles. Just an endless line of droids marching to their doom. And yet, despite all of this, they still tried. They still picked up their blasters, stood their ground, and did what they were told. Not because they wanted to, but because they had no other choice. That's the kind of quiet tragedy that hits you when you think about what these droids went through. If there's one thing that stands out about B1 battle droids, it's how flawed they are. They were built cheap and mass-produced, with barely enough intelligence to follow orders. That's why they fumble their weapons and walk into traps. They weren't made to be smart, just obedient. But that's where the sadness creeps in. They're constantly trying to do their best, even when their best isn't good enough. It's like watching someone struggle with a task they were never taught how to do. They're mocked by their enemies, berated by their superiors, and sometimes even dismantled by their own side. Yet, they keep going because they don't have a choice. They've been programmed to serve, no matter how hopeless or pointless it feels. And let's not forget how much they fear failure. You can hear it in their voices when something goes wrong. They're terrified of being destroyed or deactivated. It's as if they've been conditioned to believe that their only worth is in how well they perform. That's not just sad, it's cruel. What makes it worse is that their flaws aren't their fault. They didn't choose to be clumsy or slow. They're just following the programming someone else forced on them. It's a reminder that sometimes, the ones who mess up the most are the ones who've been set up to fail from the start. As we wrap up this exploration of B1 battle droids, one thing becomes clear. There's more to them than meets the eye. Far from being mere comic relief, these droids represent a fascinating intersection of humor, tragedy, and individuality. Their stories, though often overlooked, offer us a lens through which to view artificial intelligence and its place in the galaxy. By humanizing them, we not only change how we perceive the Star Wars universe, but also how we approach real-world discussions about robotics and AI. The quirky, bumbling personalities of the B1S are a reflection of their creators' flaws and ingenuity. While they were designed to serve a purpose in war, they often transcend that purpose in unexpected ways. Their fears, friendships, and moments of self-awareness suggest that they are more than just tools. They might be unintended creations of war that highlight the unintended consequences of technological advancement. By understanding the B1 battle droids, we also gain a deeper appreciation for the themes of the Star Wars saga. These droids are not so different from the organics around them, constantly trying to make sense of a chaotic universe. In their own way, they struggle with the same existential questions we do. Are they destined to follow orders, or can they break free and carve out their own identities? Humanizing B1 droids also challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths about how we view the other. Whether mechanical or organic, beings on the margins of society often face dismissal and exploitation. By empathizing with these droids, we're reminded of the importance of compassion and understanding, even toward those we initially see as different or insignificant. This shift in perspective is not just a lesson for Star Wars fans, but for anyone navigating a world increasingly shaped by technology. In the end, the B1 battle droids stand as more than just soldiers in an army. They are a reflection of their creators, a mirror of the galaxy's complexity, and perhaps even a reminder of what it means to be human. Thank you for joining me on this journey to reimagine the galaxy's most unlikely heroes.